Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to show you how to make some of these core shot Ned rigs. We're going to throw the plastic in the microwave, get it cooked, get it vacuumed, and while that's doing its thing, we'll show you what you need to do to these molds before you start injecting. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do with these core shot molds is you're going to want to take all the rods out of the mold. I just lay them on a little paper towel. Take your worm oil. I don't remember what brand this is, the label's torn off, but just take whatever worm oil you got. You're just going to douse the rods down real good with that. What I do is after I put a good coat on them, I kind of just roll them around to make sure they're coated all the way across. Make sure they're nice and oiled up, and you'll see why this is important once we get to injecting the plastic. I'm just going to lay them back in the mold. So this is a 10 cavity mold, and one rod goes across 2 baits. So on like stick bait molds and stuff that are core shots, you're going to have 1 rod per bait, but this one is split into 2. Once you get that all back into place, you're going to want to close your mold up. Make sure that your mold is closed all the way and you're not pinching one of those rods in there, because you definitely need this mold completely closed up when you go to inject. Throw your little caps back on. And now you're ready to inject the shell color. All right, for our shell color, what we're gonna use is Watermelon 101 from Lure Works. You wanna make sure you don't add very much color to your shell because it needs to be very transparent and see-through. We're gonna start with 4 drops. And we're using about a cup of plastic here. Let's see where the 4 drops gets us. So you can see how you can see the stir all the way through to the bottom of the cup. You want to make sure it's nice and translucent. I am going to add just a couple more drops, and then that's going to be it. Alright, so we're sitting at 6 drops of watermelon for 1 cup of plastic. I'm going to go with a 1/16 teaspoon of 0.04 black flake. I normally use around 1/8 of a teaspoon for a cup of plastic, but for this one I don't want too much flake because I do want the shell to be very see-through. And there we go. You also want to make sure you're using a good quality plastisol when you're doing this. Some of the cheaper brands will, as you cook it, kind of get like a yellow tint to it. You want to make sure you're using just a good quality plastisol. Bait plastics, dead-on plastics, Calhoun's, those are the main ones that a lot of people use. I recommend you experiment with them, find out which one you like, and make your decision based on your experience and not what you see posted everywhere. Alright, we got our plastic warmed back up. I did run it through the vacuum chamber one more time just to make sure there's no bubbles before we inject. We're going to get this shell color injected. The plastic is cooled off. Let's open it up and see what it looks like. So as you can see there, we got a real nice transparent watermelon shell, and you can still see the rod through the middle of the bait, which is what we wanted, because when we take this apart and go to inject our core color, you want it to be visible all the way through the bait. So the reason we oiled those rods at the very beginning is because you're going to pull these out, and what I do is just grab the front of the bait, break it loose off of the sprue, and just slide each shell off of the rod. What you want to do when you get these off is you want to make sure that the end of the bait still has that hole in it. You need that hole in the end of your bait so that the plastic can actually go through and have a way to vent, because the mold has little vents cut at the tip of the tail, so you want all that air to have a way to escape. Once you get all your shells pulled off, you make sure that the opening is in the tail of each one. You just pull them all off, put them back in the mold. You put the mold back together, and then you'll inject your core color. You also want to make sure, kind of like when we had the rods in there, when you put the mold back together, that it sits all the way down and that you're not pinching any of those shells anywhere within the mold. So we'll get this second cup of plastic all cooked up, and then we'll start mixing up our core. Got our second cup of plastic for the core color all cooked up, and what better color to use with watermelon than some red. For this one, we're going to use Dead on Plastic's Red Rum. I mentioned in one of my other videos how when you're doing stuff like this, you want to make sure that whatever red color you use does not bleed. If you use a bleeding red color, when you inject that core, after a few days, your entire bait is going to be red. That core is going to bleed into the shell, and you're just going to have a red bait. So this is the color we're going to use. We're just going to add some. You don't really have to worry about getting too specific with counting drops on this, just because you want your red to be pretty strong so that you can see it all the way through the core. You can see we have a nice red color. What we're going to do is add 1 drop of black just to darken it a hair. We'll see if that 1 drop is enough. I think we're going to add 1 more drop of black, just so it kind of takes some of that pink look off of it. Yeah, that's a lot better. So that's our core color, pretty nice and simple. We're gonna throw this back in the microwave, get it back up to temperature, and then we'll inject. All right, we got our core cooked back up. So this plastic right now is around 350 degrees. You do want to inject your core a little bit hotter than normal. For instance, that shell color that we injected that around 310 degrees. You want the core to be a little bit hotter just so you make sure that it goes all the way through the bait, and you want to inject faster than normal. If you inject too slow or too cold, that plastic's going to cool and stop up inside the bait and not actually go all the way through. So we're going to get this injected real quick. All right, plastic is cool. Let's check these things out. And there you have another way to make a really cool version of watermelon red. You can see that nice red core all the way through the bait. Injecting fast and a little bit warmer, you can see the red went all the way through every bait. Super cool little mold. I believe Angling AI were the first ones to come up with these molds. I have this little Ned rig, 5-inch stick bait, and then the little double-tailed grub mold that I shot in a couple videos ago. Those are the molds that I have that are core shot capable. Let me know what you guys think, what core shot colors you would like to see in future videos. Like I said, I have a few different molds, so we can definitely run through a few more colors. It's kind of just a cool way to do something a little bit different, something that's not commonly seen. Makes really cool baits. But yeah, super cool baits. Just another way to do something a little bit different, a little bit more fun. It does take a little bit more work since you do have to inject the same bait twice just to get this one bait. But I really like it. And you can see why we darkened that red a little bit. It looked pretty dark in the cup, but the way the red comes through that green, it's just a nice, pretty red. If I didn't add the black, that red would look a lot more pink than red. But yeah, super cool baits. Let me know what you guys would like to see, what other core shot colors you want to see. There's lots of different options. You can core shot with basically any color you want. But yeah, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Let us know down in the comments what you think of this. If you like these kinds of videos, if you want to see more core shots, leave some color combos down below. I think I'm caught up on all video suggestions at the moment. So if there's something that you would like to see, definitely drop it down in the comments and we'll make it happen. Thanks again for watching, guys. Like the video, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time.